Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, Dana Walden, Dwayne Johnson. These are all some of the most powerful people in Hollywood, but while they may think they run this industry, they're actually wrong. You know who really runs this place? This guy, and especially this guy. The chokehold that memes have on the world is unbelievable, and I think a great example of this bizarre phenomenon is how the internet collectively came together and gaslit one of the largest corporations on the planet into making a mediocre superhero movie completely flop twice. The strange tale of Morbius and memes is such a fascinating one, and I want to run through the history with you. So let's roll it back to 2 years ago. January 13th, 2020, Sony dropped the very first teaser trailer for the triumphant film debut of Dr. Michael Morbius. And let me tell you, Sony must have been in pure awe at the overwhelming sound of crickets that followed this. Despite the trailer having over 22 million views, it seemed like not one of those people actually gave a shit. There was an ever so slight buzz about the graffiti that looked like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but other than that, it seemed like Morbius was doomed to fade into obscurity. It also definitely didn't help that because of the pandemic, this soon-to-be Marvel legend was delayed 6 times. And I didn't even know this, but Morbius was actually slated to come out on July 10th of 2020. Because of COVID, it was pushed back to July 31st. Obviously that didn't work out, so they pushed it back to March 19th of 2020. But the pandemic still hadn't slowed down as much as they were hoping, so yet again, they shoved it to October 8th, 2021. And then January 21st, 2022, and then January 28th. And finally, after 1 year, 8 months, and 22 days of delays, poor old Michael Morbius finally made his way onto the big screen on the incredibly ironic, but fitting, date of April Fools! But we'll come back to that. November 7th, 2021 was when the final trailer came out, and this was when everything really started to kick off. When that first trailer came out back in 2020, people made fun of it a little, but for some reason this trailer hit people differently. I don't know what it was about this trailer that got people talking. Maybe it was the insisting that Morbius is a true classic Marvel legend. Maybe it was the weird epic version of The Doors' People Are Strange.
People are strange. Dr. Michael Morbius. When you're a stranger, then faces look ugly. When you're alone.
Maybe it was his weird mushroom ear. Maybe it was the hilarious comedy.
I am Venom. I'm just kidding, it's Dr. Michael Morbius.
Whatever it was about it, this trailer was the little tiny snowball that started rolling down the mountain. And while people started memeing it relatively hard after that trailer, it actually wasn't until a few weeks before the movie came out that seemingly out of nowhere, the floodgates opened wide. And Morbius was officially the most colossal, inescapable meme to happen this year so far. It's impossible to know which maniac coined the term, but the moment the phrase "It's Morbin time" was uttered on Twitter, it was over. It was all over. Morbius was an unstoppable force of nature on the internet, and I'm sure Sony was sitting in their offices just cheering, just crying tears of joy, popping bottles of champagne and celebrating, all before the movie even came out. With this unprecedented amount of buzz happening online, it was sure to be just a financial smash, right? Whether people were seeing it ironically or not, money is money. And they were right. As I'm sure you know, Morbius was actually famously the first movie to ever sell 12 more billion tickets in the first day, and make over $300 more billion in pre-order sales. This was in part due to... oh. Wait, hold on a second. Wait, this isn't right. Sorry, bear with me for a moment. I was looking at Twitter instead of the script. Hold on. Ah, here we go. In reality, Morbius immediately fell flat on his weird CGI vampire face. On opening weekend, it made a gargantuan domestic $39 million. Now don't get me wrong, $39 million is a colossal amount of money. I would inject myself with bat blood so fast for that kind of cash. But for a movie with an estimated $80 million budget, $39 million is definitely not the number you want to see as an executive at Sony. And that's why Morbius is so fucking funny to everybody. It's probably the most popular movie of the year so far, but nobody wants to see it. If you go on Twitter, you'll see nothing but comical levels of praise for the movie, but everybody hates it. Everybody is talking about how successful it is, selling 300 more billion tickets, but like 12 people actually saw it in theaters. It's one of the most contradictory, ironic responses to a movie I've ever seen, and I've been loving every second of it. The memes were really funny, for a while at least. Once shit like this started popping up, it went a little bit south for me, but whether they were good or not, Morbius memes were here to stay. It's Morbin time was trending on Twitter for a full week, for God's sake. Real world events don't even have the staying power of Mr. Morb. No one can get enough of this movie without actually seeing the movie. And if you thought they were excessive before the movie came out, holy shit, once the movie hit theaters, people went in on it tenfold.
Time to die. No, it's Morbid time.
It looked bad from the trailers, but now that everybody knew for certain that it was terrible, they doubled down, they tripled down, they quadrupled down on making this movie seem like the most beloved film of the decade. If you opened Twitter in the weeks following Morbius' debut, you saw the memes, you did, that's just a fact. And I can't stress enough, my favorite part of this is that this was all happening to a shitty movie that came out on April Fool's Day. That is so beautiful, it's like it was destined to happen. But we all know nothing lasts forever. And on June 3rd, 2022, this wave of memedom unanimously came to a close when the cringiest man alive, Mr. Morb himself, Jared Leto, acknowledged the meme.
What are you reading?
Nothing really, just,
What are you reading?
Oh, well.
But little did we know, this was much more than just Jared Leto being hilarious. Sony, being the fucking clods that they are, decided that with this unprecedented amount of buzz happening online, it was sure to be just a financial smash, right? So, because of the memes, they once again decided that they would cram this rotting dead corpse of a film back into theaters. And they were wrong again. Over the weekend of the 4th and 5th of June, it managed to scrape up $300,000. Just to compare, this is the 10th weekend in theater for Dr. Michael Morbius, and a movie that hardly anyone saw, The Bad Guys, only made it to 7 weekends. But that last day of The Bad Guys' entire theater run made more than Morbius did in its entire weekend revival run. And just like that, the meme was reborn, God bless. Using nothing but memes and copious amounts of unsubtle, ironic praise for one of the worst movies of the year, the internet was able to come together like a big family and gaslight a multi-million-dollar entertainment company to think that their piece of shit superhero movie was going to be a hit. Twice! After the first flop, they were sitting in their offices, head in their hands, just depressed about how bad of a failure their newest Marvel legend was. And for some reason, in an attempt to scrape together a few more bucks, they trusted the exact same people that made them lose a more $1 billion just a few weeks prior. And that's hilarious. And now we're all caught up. Well, they've cooled down a bit. Because of the revival run's colossal failure, the Morbid memes are still going a lot stronger than I would have expected. And if George Santayana has anything to say about this, then that probably means we're getting another Morbius theater run. But to close this off, I want to say I'm sitting here on my knees, begging you, if there's any way to support Morbius, please don't. But if you give it your hard-earned coin, we're bound to get a sequel. And can you imagine that? Can you imagine a Morbius sequel full of horrific, self-aware, it's Morbin time jokes? I seriously can't think of anything worse than that.
Ha ha ha!